So Mount Auburn was the first rural cemetery in this country. It was the first designed landscape open to the public in North America. So rural really just means outside of the city, 4 miles outside of the city of Boston. Because Boston had grown so quickly as an industrial center, they were running out of space, there wasn't any more room. And so in 1825, the city of Boston got together and began to look for a site outside of the city, a suburban location for permanent burial in a landscape of exceptional beauty. And it was so popular in 1831.
My friends, the occasion which brings us together has much in it calculated to awaken our sensibilities and cast a solemnity over our thoughts. We are met to consecrate these grounds exclusively to the service and repose of the dead.
There's a collective history represented in these monuments, and I think it's important culturally to preserve our cemeteries because you're not only paying respect to previous generations, but you're also preserving important history.
We were awarded a grant that does everything you could possibly dream of. Research, catalog, digitize, document, assess. Flattening documents and making them safe and putting things in good order and creating a museum system.
Mount Auburn was envisioned to be an outdoor museum by its founders. That is what a museum does. It preserves artifacts so that we can learn more about not only the artifacts themselves, whether they're works of art or historic artifacts, but learn more about the people that they represent.
We dwell with pious fondness on the characters and virtues of the departed, and as time interposes its growing distances between us and them, we gather up, with more solicitude, the broken fragments of memory and weave into our very hearts the threads of their history. As we sit down by their graves, we seem to hear the tones of their affection whispering in our ears. We listen to the voice of their wisdom speaking in the depths of our souls.
We have about 250,000 visitors a year. What we do with our programming is to create opportunities to connect the people coming here to visit and to learn about this place with the actual stories of this place, the stories of our history, the stories about our monuments. We do offer about 130 scheduled walks, lectures, and special events and workshops throughout the year.
So a lot of people didn't realize the needs, and fundraising is really about education and telling stories. So the more that we talk with people and talk about the needs of the cemetery, the more money we are able to raise.
Most of our operating funds come from our endowment.
Overwhelming majority, 78% of the sale of every new space in the cemetery goes into our endowments. About 22% of our sales, of our annual sales, does go into our operating budget. What additional money we need that isn't covered comes to the cemetery in the way of contributed support. That's all the money that's raised through the Friends of Mount Auburn.
In 1976, the Friends of Mount Auburn were founded, and the mission of the Friends was to promote the cemetery and through education and outreach.
And one day I was here and I was looking at the programs and event schedule, and they had a class for docents, and I thought, well, since I'm working at home a lot of the time as a consultant, I should be able to do it. So I took the class. They had openings, and it's been a wonderful experience for me.
They instruct us in the true value of life and in its noble purposes, its duties, and its destination. They spread around us in the reminiscences of the past, sources of pleasing, though melancholy, reflection.
There's a wonderful Senegalese poem about the dead are not dead, the dead are in the wind and in the earth.
In the wintertime, there's the sound of the wind going through the branches and the sounds of the branches rubbing against each other. That's a very fascinating sound and a look.
People they've buried here aren't alone and haven't been forgotten, because this is a place that's so injected with life, both life from the trees and the plants that are growing and thriving, but also just knowing that there's so many people here smiling and appreciating the beauty of this place. There certainly is this connection between the dead and the living, and I do think that it is that understanding of the fact that we all die that we need to help us understand how to live our lives in the best possible way.
The nature part is constantly renewing itself, so that is, life and death following each other. I do believe that our impact resonates after we die, so we're not living anymore, but our memory, things that we have done has impact, and it kind of resonates through the future.
I think there is an afterlife. I'm not certain about it. I'm not really a religious person, but I guess I do feel like there's a connection. There's something that goes on after death. I'm just not sure what it is.
It was our founding fathers had a real bold and innovative vision at the time in 1831 to be a cemetery that provides burial and commemoration services, and yet at the same time is designed to be a beautiful and very much vibrant and living place. And I think that's, all these years later, we're still very much that.
We shed our tears, but they are no longer the burning tears of agony. They relieve our drooping spirits. We return to the world, and we feel ourselves purer and better and wiser from this communion with the dead.